Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Matthew back in the game room with the fourth episode of the My Favorite LJN tournament. Now, this time around, we are going to have 8 battles and pretty evenly distributed as far as having original taken on custom or simply one-on-one original battles. So, this first matchup is going to feature the Ricky the Dragon Steamboat figure. I did what do you call it, a comparable LJN video a few days ago. That video just got posted on, they got posted today? No, I think I posted yesterday, the 19th of September, which was Monday, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, not important as far as when that was posted. So, in that video, completely forgot the Robert Jackson custom that I acquired, and I felt terrible about it because, like I said, I have got the whole section dedicated to Robert Jackson figures. So I had the original, I had 2 customs, I missed the 3rd custom. I'm going to rectify that in this video. And we are going to dive right into the first matchup. Again, Series 3 is going to feature one of my least favorite figures, the Ricky Dragon Steamboat figure. And like, your King Kong Bundy, I don't know, Greg Valentine, figures that just all black, very easy. Something that if you got some missing spots that need to be filled in, it's a very customizable figure, very simple. But as much as I like the figure, like I do, like I don't despise it. Not really, not in the traditional sense. I mean, it's a good figure for display, but I'm all about the ability to do damage, and all he has is this claw, which I don't like at all. If he had a closed hand and he could throw a punch, fine, but this is just like an open hand slap type of deal. It just, and with his heart, and same thing on this hand, just another claw. So, I'm sure this pose with the claws and everything makes sense to those who grew up, early childhood in the 80s. I think I was born just a few years too late. I think if I was born, around 81, 82 or something, I think a lot of stuff would have been really part of my life. Like I said, I was like 5 years old when Hasbro came out in 1990, so... And just because it came out in 1990 doesn't mean we got it in 1990. We probably could have got it in 91, 92, 93, but anyways, not a favorite figure of mine. This one... right off the bat, the original is not going anywhere. And to be honest, if he didn't have other customs that I've acquired, that figure probably wouldn't make it past round 1. Very highly unlikely. So the first figure that I did acquire, one of the very first customs, and even though, again, I'm not a fan of the pose, I absolutely love the figure. Like I believe that this is one of the best customs I own. And kind of like what you see on the back of the LJN card with the original prototype, which is supposed to have featured a red pants Ricky Steamboat. And to top it all off, they put these little dragon decals on the figure on both sides here. Absolutely amazing. And with the green shoes, you also get the dragon on the side here. And as I pointed out in the previous time I talked about these figures, he does have like a little bit darker skin. At first I thought maybe when I first acquired that this was like a resin figure, but it's not, it's just a repaint. And so I really like this one a whole lot better. So we already know right off the bat that version is going to be kicking out the original. And then we get into the Wrestling Writer version. I don't remember who I bought this from, unfortunately. So, the Wrestling Writer version, we kind of have the same issue. Just a straight, solid color. So they swap out the black for the white. But at the same time, it is a fantastic figure to go along with this beautiful belt or drawstring, the part of the pants. So I like that. It's unique. I also like the fact that his headband, sails down a whole lot further than the red version. And just the simple fact that this white belt, custom for this particular figure, I think that meshes so well together. So with the drawstring and the belt and the headband, do those make up for the fantastic colors of the red one and the dragon? I still love this figure. I still think it's among the elite of my collection, but I'm still going with the white version from Wrestling Rider. And the one that I missed, the Robert Jackson figure. This is another insanely fantastic figure. Kind of sticking with the same scheme, white color. I love the little dragging on the boots. I mean, that right there is so incredible. And then you got the little design where it actually says his name, Ricky and Steamboat. And you add in this fantastic championship belt. And I've mentioned it before, and I probably keep mentioning it throughout this competition. I am not a fan of the laminate belts. The ones that the rubber belts we get from Random Treasures. I love those. I mean, those are to me real belts and whatnot. I don't like the laminate belts, but I love the one that Robert Jackson does because his Velcro actually sticks, and it gives you that nice crisp sound when you snap it together. And like I said, the little felt on the inside of the belts, incredible. The other ones I use like this foam that just falls apart, just terrible. And of course you got this dragon decal, and then I don't know if I pointed that one out or not. So, kind of like the same thing, name on his headband. So there are a lot of really fantastic features about this figure that I absolutely love. And because these two figures are very reminiscent of one another, it makes it a much more difficult decision as to which one is my favorite. This face is unique. I mean, obviously, it's the same exact figure. They didn't do anything with it. They didn't cut off any heads or whatnot. But when you look at the facial expression, it looks like a completely different person, though. I've had the figure longer, and that means I've had more time to enjoy it. I still believe that this is a much better figure than most of the customs that I get, but I'm going to go with the Wrestling Rider version on this one. And I only had this one. No, I take it back. I had the original. I had the first two customs the first time I did this competition, and he was my winner back then as well. But, you got to give props. This one came in very close of usurping the Ricky Steamboat figures. Moving into the next matchup. So no customs here, but he is going to be a figure that's going to move on to the next round regardless, because we do have the variants of Special Delivery Jones. So most people, they're going to go with the red shirt because, probably the primary version. I don't really know too much about SG Jones. I guess he's someone who's been loyal to the company for decades, so he's always been a long time employee, and sort of a jobber type, not like a main eventer or anything like that. But oddly enough, on one of the WrestleMania tapes I bought, he actually is one of the headlines of the WrestleMania matches. So, and he got his own figure, two of his own figures. So he must have been somebody really, really important to somebody up top. SD Jones, even though I don't know much about the wrestler himself, this is, in every essence of the word, a absolute perfect figure. Absolutely phenomenal. Everything from the spreading of the legs, which makes this a beautiful figure to get body slammed. So, again, it's not, as I mentioned before, it's not just about, creating damage. It's about, taking damage too. And the way that his arms are spread apart, that gives you so many different fighting abilities. That gives you either a left arm under or right arm under body slam, which is beautiful. It gives you that nice choke slam, pose, throw a punch, slap, clothesline. This figure does it all. I had this figure listed as my 10th all-time favorite figure when I did my top 10 list among the originals. Well, technically, this one was my top 10. But SD Jones, like I said, is an absolute perfect figure. Absolutely love it. The red shirt is not going to defeat the Hawaiian. I absolutely love the color scheme of the shirt. You know, the brightness, it really makes it pop. Two fantastic figures. Again, this one is just a little bit too plain for me. So SD Jones Hawaiian does move on to round 2. And like I said, this is one of those guys who you know right off the bat, before you even talked about him, was going to go multiple rounds, because this is just a true figure. This is exactly a type of action figure I look for when I'm looking for, as a kid, something to play with, or as an adult, something you want to collect, because pose-wise, for display, beautiful. Moving on to the third matchup, which features not necessarily the two worst figures of all time, but they're two of my least favorite figures. So, for me, I only have, let's see here. Well, I don't want to pull those, because even though that's the same figure, it's a different series, so I'm not going to put those against each other. So the first one we're going to talk about is Terry Funk. Terry Funk gets so much love by a lot of folks, and the only thing that I truly love about this figure more than anything is the fact that he is the only LJN to come out with two different pieces of accessories. The hat, you can find the hat anytime. It seems like everybody's selling the hat, but to find the actual branding iron is impossible. And if you find someone selling an original branding iron, you're probably paying $100 just for that simple piece. I have been getting quite a few custom branding irons because I've been trying to sell this figure online, and of course I needed it for my personal collection to complete to make it a whole 100%. And it's an adequate figure. It's nothing flashy. You know, I do like the chaps and stuff on the bottom here. You know, it's a decent looking figure. The arm down, straight down like that, it takes away the playability potential. So basically with this figure, you're doing one arm punches the entire time, you know, one arm toss overs and body slams. Is it a playable figure? Absolutely. You know, if I'm rumbling with these guys, I keep this one in for a very long time, but it's not like a pristine figure in my eyes. You know, it's mid-tier figure. You know, is it top mid-tier, mid-tier? I don't know. Again, I've never done anything past my top 10, so I don't know where I'd put these guys, but if I had to guess, 30. I don't know, 30 out of 72 figures, 40. Right around where I'd put probably Macho Man. I'd probably rate this one maybe a little bit higher than Macho Man, because at least you can, you know, do that punch and body slam and stuff. Even one armed is still better than nothing, so I don't know. Like I said, it's one of my least favorite figures, and I think one of the things that kind of stand out for me is because so many people are in love with it, and I just don't see it. It's like in the mid-90s, or, you know, later 90s, when, like, all the boy bands started coming out, and, like, Backstreet Boys, and, you know, I like Backstreet Boys. I mean, I always thought they had some good music back then, good songs, and, you know, my sister was always so obsessed with Backstreet Boys, and it got so frustrating that I couldn't enjoy them. And then after that, you know, I just kind of like, you know what, I just started hating the band. And it's not because their songs started getting bad or anything, it's because I just didn't like, you know, all that bragging constantly was just so frustrating. Or, Game of Thrones is a perfect example. I couldn't really enjoy the show because so many people were obsessing over it, making it sound like it was the greatest show ever constructed. And, you know, you watch it and it is an elite show, but because people are bragging about it and obsessively, it took away, you know, all of the pleasure I could have gotten from watching it. So maybe the same thing is happening with the Terry Funk figure, but it's just not one of my favorites. The one thing that he does have going for him in this round is going against the Tito Santana figure. This figure, when you look at the arms being out like that, you would think that this would be such a perfect figure for play. And I just don't see it. Like, you sit there and you actually try to, like, body, and you know how I gotta have body slams. That's his body slam, essentially, about waist high. So his arms are so low to the point where you can't really give a clothesline. You gotta kind of like throw your hands up to throw a punch. Yes, I get it. You know, your kids, you're using your imagination. His arms could be like that, and you could be, and you could pretend to be doing a body slam. I get it, but I mean, still, aesthetically, it's average. Nothing super special about the figure. The pose, bottom tier figure. If I were to do my top 15, top 20 least favorite figures, he'd probably be on my top 15, top 20 maybe. At least top 20. It's just not a good figure. Tito Santana, later on, you'll see him again in the Strike Force with Rick Martel. When those guys broke up and you see them battle later on, every time Tito Santana enters the ring during a Royal Rumble when Rick Martel's already in there, he's the first person they go out. He goes after, and I gotta find out what led to their breakup and why there was like such a major feud between the two of them. Tito Santana, later on, El Matador, not exactly a top card fighter in my opinion. And Rick Martel was actually pretty decent. You know, I know we'll talk more about him when we get to that figure. But Tito Santana, how is this man ever a tag team champion? And I think he was an Intercontinental champion at one point, if I'm not mistaken. I gotta look that up and find out. But no, in this round, Terry Funk moves on to round 2. This matchup I'm actually kind of angry about. And we're going to start off with Adrian Adonis. At first, there were so many things about this figure I disliked. Starting with the way that the foot is kind of curved out to the left here. Just the whole standing pose, you know, very, I guess, flamboyant is a word I've heard used in the past. You know, hand out. Like, I understand they're trying to make like a whole Goldust type of personality with Adrian Adonis, but it just distracted from the overall figure. And this actually comes up on a lot of people's list as being one of the worst. But after like really looking at the figure and kind of like trying to like bounce it around and, you know, do this, use it in a matchup, he's actually a pretty fun figure to use. And when you actually go back and watch old wrestling videos on YouTube and you see Survivor Series or, you know, these 6-man tag team matchups and that he's a part of, he's actually a lot of fun to watch in the ring. And this right here, actually, I've grown to love this figure. Would I put it in my top 15, top 20 of all-time favorites? Top 25 is a possibility. Top 20, maybe. Top 15, probably not. But I still think it's a great figure. And I actually would have loved to have seen this one move on to the next round. And he still could, but unlikely based on who he's squaring off against in this round. Some of the issues outside of the leg and the hand being out, same thing with the hand pose. You don't really get that great body slam pose, which I love, and you know looks decent after once you grow accustomed to it, but it could be better, definitely. And he is going against one of the greatest LJN figures. So we already know that Billy Jack Haynes has one of the top accessories. I think I had him at like number 3 of my accessory list. His hat just blends in so well with the overall figure, and he's kind of like a Nikolai Volkov. You know, the arms being in just a little bit too far. But I mean, still, even with that, you know, I think you can still do a decent body slam. You know, clothesline, and if you throw some punches and stuff. Legs spread apart, great for being body slammed. So aesthetically, this is an absolute beautiful figure. And everything from the bird display on his tattoo, and you got another one over here. You know, writing on his trunks. And again, with the design of the green rims around his boots and wristbands, and then you got this little scarf thing up here. That green rim around his hat, it blends the figure perfectly. This is another absolutely phenomenal figure. Would I say perfect? I don't know if I would say perfect per se. It's a favorite. I would probably put him number 11, maybe number 12. I think the only one I'd probably put Bret Hart maybe at number 11, and this would come in at number 12. Fantastic figure. Two great pieces actually, but again, we are going to see Billy Jack Haynes move on to round 2. So next matchup, next 4 matchups are going to feature tag teams, but they are originals, so they're going to square off against originals versus customs for those 4 matchups. First one we are looking at is B. Brian Blair of the Killer Bees. Killer Bees have like one of the weirdest finishing moves you'd ever see. I don't know the female wrestler, but I know she always wears like these really light neon green pants, lime green pants, and her finishing move is basically jumping up and booty busting someone in the face. So that's basically what the Killer Bees were. That's what their finishing move was. So when I talked about like Ricky Steamboat having the claw and his finishing move being taking the person by the head and slamming them face first, and that's this whole booty busting them in the face as a finishing move. I mean, how could a claw be my finishing move be worse than that? I mean, it's funny, definitely. Not to insult, what they're choosing as a finisher, but B. Brian Blair, and again, another fantastic figure. And for the most part, I think LJN did a phenomenal job with their tag teams. The pose, it's not great, not perfect. I think Bob Backlund from Ram Treasures has a very similar fighting pose. I mean, it does the things you need. You got a clothesline, you got a punch. You could still do a pretty adequate body slam. Not perfect, but I mean, it does the trick. So I'm not going to harp too much on these Killer Bees. So this is the first cut. This is the custom I have for B. Brian Blair. When I bought this, I think in January of this year. So I bought a custom Jim Brenzel. I bought the custom Jim Brenzel from Wrestling Writer, and I asked him if he had any B. Brian Blair figures. Either I didn't have the Killer Bees at the time, or maybe I just wanted a custom. I don't remember. I don't think I had either one at the time, and I figured it'd be better to have at least a custom, something to put on the shelf, than not have anything at all. So he did have this figure. I guess at some point somebody attempted to customize the figure, but then they stopped. And he told me it was an unfinished product. And just to have a B. Brian Blair for me at that point, obviously it was important, so I didn't care. I still purchased it from him. And like many figures, I might start off with the customs first, and later on I go back and I acquire the real thing, or the original. So we already know, unfinished product, the original B. Brian Blair is going to surpass the custom version. But I think if this was a finished product, it could have been something really spectacular, because I love the green paint that they use for the boots and trunks. I mean, like I said, it's unfinished, so this was really an unfair advantage, but B. Brian Blair, original, pushes through to the next round. And then we dig into the second part of the Killer Bees. Jump in Jim Brenzel. I think he's got a little bit better pose than, fighting wise, than B. Brian Blair. Again, I'm not like super knowledgeable about the Killer Bees. I remember them and everything, but I don't have too far and extensive knowledge about them, or NWA, AWA, any type of wrestling that they may have done previously. So what I'm really super excited about is the Jim Brenzel Custom. Now this actually was the AWA. He was an AWA champion. This is him in his singles gear, and this is what I'm talking about from Wrestling Writer. This came on my list. I think I listed at number 10, if I'm not mistaken, of my all-time favorite customs. Or no, I take it back. Among my Wrestling Writer figures, this came at number 10. This was an absolutely gorgeous design all throughout the entire figure. And when I saw this, I absolutely jumped at it. Now, I can't remember if he listed it on eBay or if he had sent me photos and asked me if I was interested. But something this good, yeah. I wasn't waiting on this one. This one was spectacular. And as much as I love the Killer Bee colors on the original, there was just no competition. I feel like this one is probably going to push through a couple rounds at least. It's just a really fantastic figure. So the Jim Brenzel Custom moves on to round 2. And then we get into the Bret Hart figure. Now this one actually came with a original championship belt, which is fantastic. So I know I said I'd probably list Bret Hart at number 11 of my all-time favorite LJN originals. The thing about this figure, because I'm such a huge fan of Bret Hart, just like many people are, the man has all the talent in the world. His figure, as far as fighting pose goes, it's average, but it's not super spectacular. So when I'm talking about pushing this one like the top 11, top 5, or top 15 figures, I may not. It's still something you could definitely play and enjoy, but you're gonna basically be doing a lot of punching, a lot of headbutting, maybe some DDTs or something. It's a really sharp figure, love it, but I'm just not in love with it, I guess. But the Hart Foundation in general are just some of the more valuable figures out there, some of the more desired figures. Absolute perfection, I think. I love the figure. Maybe calling it perfection is too much. But if you want to see perfection, it's this one right here. I've never taken off the jacket of this figure, but essentially, you got pretty much the same info that you'd find in this one. So I kind of look at this as like Series 4 Hasbro, and I kind of look at this as like Series 8 Hasbro type. So repainted the shirt, repainted the pants, just flopped it. Got much better design on the boots. Got this awesome championship belt, and I don't know if you can see it, but you got that little heart. I think it's faded now. But either way, beautiful, beautiful figure. This one, I can't remember where it was in my last competition. But again, no spoilers, so I'm going to try and shut up about that. He did win in my last competition, and he's going to win again. This one comes from Wrestling Writer, and one of the greatest Wrestling Writer figures of all time. And of all my acquisitions, I think I had him at like number 2, I think, from Wrestling Writer. Now, that includes both the ones that he made himself, as well as the ones that he may have acquired from others. So, Bret Hart, I feel bad for this, because this is one of the most loyal wrestlers you'll ever find in the business. I mean, he worked for WWF for what, like 15 years or something. Man was a true champion in every sense of the word. We're talking about Royal Rumble winner, multiple heavyweight champion, and he is just a legitimate wrestler. Kind of like your old school, high school floor, on the floors, mats and stuff, type of wrestler. But he is an actual, in every sense of the word. And to see what happened to him, just as he was getting, I guess his contract was ending for the WWF, and they refer to it as the Montreal Screwjob. So he wasn't supposed to lose in his home country of Canada, and. If I can recall, he was facing Shawn Michaels, and I think it was like a 60-minute battle or something. No winners, and they sent him back in the ring to finish off the match. There were no winners, so that was the end of the match. He was supposed to retain his championship. That didn't happen. He goes back in. A few minutes later, he's basically he didn't give up, but the referee claims that he submitted, and he lost his championship to Shawn Michaels. I was actually watching some videos. I guess they aired like 99, 2000, and Shawn Michaels was giving an interview and talked about how, yes, he knew that was going to happen. And I'm like, man, I just thought, he thought he won a championship. I didn't know he was in on it, and that was so demoralizing because I love Shawn Michaels. I'm a huge fan of his, and how they did one of their greatest legends like that, that's why we say that there's no loyalty in business. So Custom, Bret Hart surpasses the original. Now this right here is a top 10 figure based on fighting pose, and it is Jim the Anvil Nightheart. Absolutely love the figure, and I said before I thought this was a better figure than Bret Hart, even though I think Bret Hart would go further based on that design of that particular figure. But fighting wise, the man does so much. He's got this perfect clothesline. Yeah, throw you a slap and punch and whatnot. I kind of do this thing kind of like where they'll throw you against the ring. It kind of like do like this elbow kind of, or he'll jump off the rope and drop an elbow. So that's nice. And when you're doing a body slam, it's not the most perfect body slam, but you can kind of bring his hand in so it looks like he's giving you a two-handed body slam. So it's just an overall fantastic piece. Jim Nightheart, I mean, let's be honest, Bret Hart was always carrying that tag team. He was a decent wrestler. He can exact a lot of damage to an opponent, but I mean, he was nobody special. Watching the Hart Foundation square off against the Nasty Boys, and of course, it's Neidhart who's pinned, and they lose their tag team championship to the Nasty Boys. I mean, what was that, 91 or 92? I'll probably say 91 Royal Rumble. I mean, a lot of these videos are kind of like blending in, so I'm kind of having a hard time following them. This one is going to be the last figure for this match, or for this video. And it is the Jim Nightheart Custom. So many things about this figure. First thing you'll notice is the difference in the color of the skin. So this one's much darker. Kind of like the Ricky Steamboat figure, where it's a little bit darker than the original. So again, kind of like the Bret Hart, you got the colors are swapped. Well, not really. They didn't really swap the colors. They just made them a lot brighter, more bold. And so, but you do have the where's the figure at? Oh, that's not a good example. I call it Series 4. Bret Hart, Hasbro, when he's got the black shirt with the pink pants. And there's just so much more detail to this. Everything with the word and the emblem of the anvil. The emblem that's on his boots. And of course, they even top it off with the heart. So this is just an absolutely gorgeous piece. I mean, I'm not going to dig into it. The custom is going to defeat the original. And I've said it a lot. I always appreciate the custom, or the originals, more than the customs. I'd rather have that more. But there have just been so many great customizers who've done such amazing work that you just really gravitate towards the uniqueness of the particular figure. And again, the Hart Foundation, their type of figures I feel is going to go very far in the competition. And this is just an absolute beauty. Jim Nightheart Custom defeats original. And this will end, what is this, so this is the 4th video. And so kind of looking at the next matchups. Alright, so we're looking at Orton versus Roberts. And then Elizabeth. I got quite a few Elizabeth figures, but one of them is technically, one of the customs is technically a Queen Sherry. So I may not include those, or if I do, I don't know. I'll probably put them together. So if that's the case, We're also looking at a Hercules figure. Now, here's the thing that I'm questioning. The last time I did this competition, I had the LJN Hercules original versus the Wrestling Router Hercules, but they're two completely different figures, different fighting poses. Everything is just different. So I don't know if I want to do the same thing and put the best Hercules figure from that particular group, or if I just want to keep them separate based on the different fighting poses. Because if I keep the same fighting, or if I keep different fighting poses together, then why wouldn't I put the Hulk Hogan with the Jesse Ventura? So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna keep them separate, and trying to see if the other one is about the same pose. It's not. So yeah, I'm gonna keep them separate. I'm gonna do things a little bit different in this regard this time around. So it'll be Hercules versus Kamala, and then the Ken Patera has duplicates. Harley Race will take on Outback Jack, and then, of course, in the middle, we've got Coco Beware and duplicate. Ted Arcidi is going to face Bam Bam Bigelow with the middle figure, Vince McMahon versus his duplicate. So far we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh yeah, that should take us through most of Series 5. Sounds good. Alright, I will close the video here. Thank you everyone again for watching, and I will see you in the comments. Goodbye for now.